is delighted to support municipalities in Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia in strengthening their capacities to manage integration efficiently and sustainably. And at the start, I want to acknowledge and sincerely thank our local and international partners, without which we wouldn't have been able to put this together. Our special gratitude goes to Karolis Sibas from the UNHCR representation in Nordic and Baltic countries, who unfortunately couldn't join us in person today, but I hope he's online following this. A warm thanks also goes to the Providus Center for Public Policy, whose contribution to organizing ODIHR's first training, which will start tomorrow, including managing logistical aspects, has been instrumental for us. I also wish to recognize the enabling role of the Ministries of Culture in Latvia and Estonia, the Ministry of Social Security and Labor in Lithuania, and the Association of Estonian Cities and Municipalities, and of course, our host today, the city of Riga. Thank you very much. This academy builds on a successful experience that we already did last year with major cities in Poland, where ODIHR collaborated together with our partners in the Council of Europe, with the OECD, and the Union of Polish Metropolises, producing tangible improvements of local integration capacities. And we also have two representatives of the cities of Wrocław and Lublin joining us today to share a bit of their experience. I think we really managed to provide exchange of experience, good practices, and also a network where you can exchange challenges that cities face on a common ground. Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania have welcomed a significant number of Ukrainian refugees fleeing Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. All three countries have implemented comprehensive approaches involving government, civil society, and local communities, as we've already heard. Municipalities have played critical roles through cultural activities in Lithuania, through language training in Latvia, and educational programs in Estonia, just to name a few good practices. These local initiatives showcase innovative strategies for integrating refugees, preserving cultural identity, and promoting mutual understanding with host communities. While the response to Ukrainian refugees has been widely praised, the treatment of non-Ukrainian refugees reveals a more complex picture. Compared to the immediate and comprehensive solidarity and support offered to Ukrainians, other asylum seekers often face greater challenges. Addressing disparities in support systems and their access to them is essential to an inclusive and effective integration of refugees. ODIHR's first training will start tomorrow, and it will emphasize a comprehensive and holistic approach to an integration of different categories of migrants and refugees. Integration of migrants and refugees is a long-term, multifaceted, and complex process, requiring sustained investment and commitment on the local level to effectively address specific needs and challenges. Immigration can bring valuable contributions in Baltic countries, offering opportunities for economic growth, for innovation and cultural exchange. Attracting talented workers globally enhances the competitiveness of economies and addresses democratic challenges. Effective integration stabilizes population, supporting continued economic viability and sustainability in local communities. So today marks the launch of a vital series of targeted capacity building sessions, specifically tailored to Baltic municipalities. ODIHR, of course, remains committed to supporting municipalities, strengthening their capacity for effective integration, for promoting social cohesion, and combating discrimination. So we look forward to collaboration with you, to mutual learning, and to successful training events. Thank you very much.
It is also my pleasure to welcome Thorsten Afflerbach, Head of Inclusion and Anti-Discrimination Programs Division of Council of Europe, for his opening remarks.
Yes, thank you very much, the moderator. Distinguished Minister, dear representative of the City Council of the Council of Europe Intercultural City of Riga, dear colleagues from ODIHR, OECD and UNHCR, dear participants. On behalf of the Council of Europe, it's a great honor to address you today on this important occasion, the launch of the Academy on the Integration of Migrants and Refugees in the Baltic countries. The Minister has already said it, this initiative is not just a training program. I would like to add, it's also a commitment. It's a commitment that reflects our collective responsibility to build inclusive societies where every individual, regardless of their origin, can contribute and belong. I would like to thank the authorities of Latvia, and more specifically of the city of Riga, for hosting this landmark event. As we gather here today in Riga, we built on the remarkable success of a similar initiative in Poland. The Academy on the Integration of Migrants and Refugees in Polish cities, which started in March 2023, was a groundbreaking effort and brought together key international organizations and local authorities. Over 18 months, it provided training and tools to 146 participants from 13 Polish cities, including members of the Council of Europe's Intercultural Cities Program, Lublin, Krakow, and Wrocław. The initiative covered crucial areas such as multi-stakeholder partnerships, anti-rumors strategies, countering gender-based violence, and they equipped city officials with practical solutions for real-world challenges. The success of this model has inspired us to bring it to the Baltic region. So today, we are not starting from scratch. We are building on a proven methodology, on lessons learned and best practices, which will be adapted to the specific contexts of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. We recognize that each country, each city, each community has its own unique strengths and challenges. This academy is designed to support local authorities in tailoring inclusion strategies that reflect their own realities, ensuring that policies are not just well-intended, but also effective and sustainable. The Council of Europe, through its Intercultural Cities program, is proud to be a key partner in this initiative. Since the start of this program in 2008, the ICC program has supported cities and regions across and beyond Europe on adopting an intercultural and inclusive approach. The program currently has more than 160 members, and it's also present in the Baltic region with Riga and Jonava already participating. Our intercultural inclusion model is based on 4 fundamental principles: ensuring equality, valuing diversity, fostering meaningful intercultural interaction, and promoting active citizenship and participation. Diversity, when managed well, is not a burden, but an asset that enriches our societies culturally, socially, and economically. Representing the level of government closest to the people, cities are immediately aware of the needs and challenges of their communities. They are also key actors who can make the biggest difference in the everyday lives of the people. In an international context marked by democratic backsliding and an erosion of our European values, as well as by a fear of diversity, cities can play a crucial role in building more cohesive societies through intercultural inclusion. But cities cannot do this alone. The sense of belonging and common purpose is provided by participation in an international network of like-minded cities, such as the ICC program of the Council of Europe. So this program will continue working with members, and we would, of course, also be pleased to welcome new members who are committed to advancing intercultural inclusion. Through this academy that we start now, we look to deepen this engagement, equipping more cities with tools they need to create inclusive, resilient, and welcoming communities. Over the next 2 days, this academy will begin its journey with trainings focused on practical solutions. Participants will engage in capacity building sessions which combine theory with practical exercises, fostering peer-to-peer learning and exchange of experience. It's not just about knowledge transfer, it's also about building a network of committed professionals who play key roles in their respective cities. I would like to extend my gratitude to our partners, ODIHR, UNHCR and OECD, for their dedication to this joint initiative, but also to the participants, to you, the participants of this first training session in the Baltic states. In conclusion, let us remember that integration is not a one-time event, but it's a continuous process. It requires sustained effort, political will, and above all, a shared vision of inclusive societies. I'm confident that together we will make this academy a great success in the Baltic states. Thank you.
And finally, I would like to invite Dace Meilija, Government Liaison Officer with the UN Refugee Agency, to deliver her welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Dārta. Dear distinguished audience, on behalf of UNHCR representation for Nordic and Baltic countries, I'm truly delighted to welcome you today at the opening event of this Academy for Baltic countries for 2025-2026. It's maybe a slightly challenging task to be the last keynote speech, as all speakers already have stressed the importance of municipalities, their role, and what the Academy could bring for them. But as a UNHCR, we also want to stress that, of course, municipalities are becoming more and more one of the key players in receiving and integration of refugees and also newcomers. As a UNHCR, we have monitored the situation in the Baltic countries already for several decades, and we have observed how the role of municipalities have gradually changed. Of course, the Ukrainian refugee crisis brought municipalities to the front line, and we saw the truly amazing commitment and truly amazing solidarity of municipality workers, what they have done in receiving and providing to Ukrainian refugees. At the same time, we have also observed that government, national actors have also enforce their efforts to help municipalities to find these modalities and tools for them to be better players in this field. And in this context, of course, we are thinking that Integration Academy will play a role. It will be built on experiences of municipalities already acquired, and it will be the place to establish cooperations. And we also hope that this will be the place where new ideas, new even innovative ideas will be generated and brought to national or even European level. So I would like to conclude here and to start the more deeper discussions and interventions from our participants today. But before that, of course, we are very, very thankful to all partners and all of those who contributed to this event to happen. So first of all, big thanks to all international organizations who participated in designing the course and running the first model in Poland. The biggest thank you also goes to Providus and ODIHR for making organizational aspects and this event happening. We wouldn't be also able to do it without support of Ministry of Culture and also respective partners in Estonia, the Association of Estonian Cities and Municipalities, and Ministry of Culture there, as well as the social services and Lithuanian of Social Security and Labor in Lithuania. And of course, big thank you to all already participants who are here and who have committed themselves to work hard for 2 days on building on their experiences, sharing their experiences. I'm very much looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
I would also like to thank everybody, firstly the international organizations and everyone who was involved in the design of the courses, and also everybody who is here, because without the municipalities, this event couldn't really happen. And as said in previous welcoming speeches, municipalities and cities play a crucial role in integration. So without further ado, I would like to invite Angélique Petrits, Policy Officer at the European Commission, DG Migration and Home Affairs, for her keynote speech.
Hello, everybody. I'm delighted to be here. Last time I was in Riga was 20 years ago, and there was a World Championship of ice hockey. So it was a completely different atmosphere, I assure you. But I love the city, so I'm really happy to be back. So I'm representing here the European Commission. I'm working at the unit dealing with legal migration and integration. I'm in the integration sector and dealing specifically with municipalities, local and regional authorities, and integration on the local level, which we know it's so important. So what I'm going to present today is our perspective, how the Commission understands the issue, how we're trying to contribute to that. So we heard several times, and I don't think I need to repeat, the importance of cities and municipalities as melting pots of culture and innovation. They are very important for welcoming newcomers, for welcoming refugees, because this is where, usually when we have migrants coming to the EU, they come to the cities. They don't come, to the countryside. They don't go to the beach. They come to cities, because cities are there to provide services. So we see cities as real front lines of the integration process. Everything is happening there. They have to provide services to newcomers, but we know that they also face many challenges. So they have resource limitations, very often financial resources. And a question I always get when I speak to cities is why we don't get funding directly from the EU. So I'm here, so don't ask me this question. I'll answer it already. Because our partners are the member states. So we fund member states, and then of course it has to be to the member states to fund the municipalities and different projects. But we have also transnational projects, and then their municipalities can apply. It's like the EU Belong project that was mentioned before. So there are some ways, but our main partners are the member states, and this is how the EU works. So we know they have resource issues. There are often some social tensions, because when you have many migrants, you have social services which are strained, you don't have enough places in schools, in hospitals, etc. So that can create social tensions. And often what we see there, what we call diplomatically, these policy misalignments, which bluntly means often you have a different authority in the central government, a different authority in the local. They don't cooperate in ideal way. And there are different policies centrally and different policies locally, and this creates, of course, difficulties in implementation. I think you know that better than I do. So we all know that integration happens locally. I don't need to convince you for that. So what, at the Commission level, we are very far from the local. We are an EU organization. So what we can do, because integration is a national competence. So it's up to the member states to implement or not implement, to design or not design integration policies. And it depends also on the member state. The level of competence is different. There are member states who are very centralized, like Greece, which is my home country and I know quite well. Everything is decided centrally, everything. Municipalities have very, very little leverage. You have other member states, like Germany, you have the land, which is responsible, for instance, for integration. Belgium is the same, so it's very different. I'm not really sure how it is in the Latvian. Maybe you will tell me later, because I would be really interested to see how it works in this part of Europe. So what we can do on the Commission level is capacity building. This is what I try to do. Facilitate exchanges and good practices, and of course provide funding in the best way we can provide funding. So this is why I'm going to explain now. So what is the EU policy framework? So maybe you've heard about this pact on migration and asylum, which has been approved more than a year ago after many years of discussion. Well, the integration part, which is the action plan on integration and inclusion, was already approved 2021, and it was the first part of the pact. We shouldn't forget that, because the pact, it was a very long process, a very difficult political process. You know that. But we had the integration part was less controversial, because nobody from any political spectrum can say openly, no, migrants are there, you shouldn't integrate them. Doesn't dare say it, at least. So that was less controversial, so the action plan was the first part of the pact. So the very good thing in the pact is that member states now have to consult local regional authorities when they establish their national integration policies, which was not compulsory in the past, before the pact. Of course, the pact is not implemented yet, and we have the process now. We have the national implementation programs, and it will take a few years, a couple of years, to be really implemented. But there you have an important role to play as municipalities, because the government has to consult you, and it's in the legislation. So if they don't consult you, you can complain, you can go to court, you can, okay, there are different ways of complaining. So that's an important role of municipalities there, to have your words spoken and heard. So the action plan, which is our policy framework, it's about not only migrants, but also citizens with a migrant background, because we felt that there were discriminations also in second-generation migrants. And it has about 60 actions, recommendations. 30 of those target local and regional authorities specifically, but also the other target local and regional authorities. But the 13 are only for local and regional authorities. Another framework we have is the Urban Agenda Partnership on Integration and Inclusion of Migrants and Refugees. And this is a multi-stakeholder network, where we have organizations, we have EU organizations, we have international organizations, local and regional authorities, NGOs, think tanks, universities. I mean, it's a very diverse network, which we support. We set up, I'll speak a bit later more about this. And it's very important, because there we can really exchange best practices about integration. So it's another network. And of course, the funding, which I will present later. So, oops. Sorry. Doesn't, I don't know, I go. Okay, what did you do there? So I go, yes, that works.
It
okay.
works now.
No. Okay. So the action plan. The action plan is based on 4 pillars. Its integration happens if we can have successful access to education, to employment, to housing, and to health. And they are all very interdependent. Because how can you find a job if you're not healthy? How can you study if you don't have a house? It's all so interdependent. So we cannot happen. So this is why we have to coordinate actions in all these 4 pillars. So more in detail. So education and training. We'd like, for instance, what are these actions which we recommend to member states is to have more places in early education and care. Also, that helps to free mothers to go to the labor market, because it's very important. These actions are not targeting the mainstream obligations that member states have to offer, because we know migrants being legal in a member state, of course, kids go to school and it's compulsory. This goes beyond that, because this is something which we take for granted, you know. All member states offer places to schools, or have to offer places to schools. So this goes beyond that. Teachers very often are not equipped to teach in these so diverse classes, so they need special training. And maybe in Latvia, you are more, or in the Baltics, because you had Russian coming, so maybe you are more used in schools to have kids speaking different languages. I assure you, in Greece, teachers never heard another language in their class before 2015, because there were no migrants, because we're not a country that people want to go. They all want to go to Germany and to the north. So it was really, they didn't know how to deal with it at all. Qualifications acquired in third countries are very important to be recognized, and this is also a big issue. You have migrants coming without diplomas because they lost them, because they flee a war. And how do you recognize these qualifications if they want to study further? And language training, I think in the next plan that we're preparing after 27 will be a horizontal action, because language is so important. It's not only education, because if you don't speak the language, you cannot do anything. You cannot find a job, you cannot communicate, you cannot integrate with the host community. You're totally hopeless. So this is a very, very important issue. Employment. Of course, employment is very important, and we'd like to have migrants in the labor market as soon as possible. There are problems with overqualification of migrants. In a large majority, migrants do jobs for which they are overqualified, because their skills are not recognized, their diplomas are not recognized. Again, we go back to the same problem. Migrants who want to be entrepreneurs, they don't have the financial capacity, so we should support them. And there are many, for the skills recognition, there are many initiatives also. We work with other departments of the Commission, like DG Employment. There's a toolkit to recognize skills. There are many also interesting initiatives from member states in that field. And also, we shouldn't forget vocational training, which is also very important, because many jobs offered to migrants require vocational training. So we should have this tailored vocational training. There have been some interesting initiatives where you combine, for instance, language learning and vocational training. So there are many. We have to be really innovative there, and municipalities who know the problems on the ground very often come up with very, very interesting and innovative ideas in this. Health. Health, of course, everybody has access to health, full stop. But does everybody have access to health, after all? First, we have to know our rights. So migrants have to know how to access it. Sometimes in member states, you need to have digital knowledge to book an appointment. Maybe they don't have the digital knowledge. Maybe they don't have the device. Maybe they don't know their rights. Where are they? Where they have to go? Maybe they are victims of trauma and they need psychological support, but in which language? Can you speak with an interpreter? It has to be a qualified interpreter where you can speak to a psychologist. So there are so many issues. Women coming from different cultures and they need this pronatal, postnatal, support, and they need to be treated in a specific way and feel in an area of confidence. So all these need to be taken into account. It's not for granted, even if migrants, of course, the moment you are legally in a member state, you have access to health as citizens, as normal, citizens of the place. But it's not the same after all. And housing, this is a big issue. We know that housing problems in many, many municipalities. They are dealt with in different ways. There are member states where you have very good housing policies. I would mention Germany, for instance, where migrants are taken care of and they are offered a house. You have countries like Greece where there's no social policy for whoever, not even for locals. So they are hopeless after they have to leave the camp. They have their refugee status, fantastic. And then they have to leave the camp, and then they have to sleep on the street. Now we have one project, which is called Ilios, that AMI funded, which takes, for 1 year they have support for housing and employment, etc. Also with the helps of municipalities. It's a network of Greek municipalities doing that. But then after 1 year, what do you do? So there are many, many, many issues about housing. This is why we encourage also innovative solutions in housing. And I'll mention Germany. I saw a very interesting project in Berlin, where, for instance, the city will take homes which were not occupied, negotiate with the owner, and then have a contract with the owner, and then sublet them to migrants in a better, in a better rate than the market rate. So they were different, so they were because there is also this problem with the housing market that sometimes people don't want to rent, they don't trust migrants. So then the municipality would act as a broker in that case. So the owner felt, the landlord felt confident to let to a migrant because it was through the municipality. So there are very nice, innovative ideas that municipalities can bring forward, and that's really so important. So apart from this, on top of these 4 pillars, we have horizontal actions. So build strong partnerships. Why this is so important? Migration, integration happens locally, okay, but locally you have the municipalities. But in order to integrate migrants, you need at the same time, you need the support of the central government, you need the host community, you need the migrants themselves, because people, they have to be willing to integrate. Municipality has to be willing to welcome, but they also have to be willing to integrate. You need the social entrepreneurs, you need the NGOs, you need the labor market partners, so you need everybody. So this is why building these partnerships are so important. And you need to have the point of view, and everybody has to play a different role, but we have to bring everybody together towards this same goal of integration. And this is what we're trying to do. So these are the 13 proposals for the cities and regions. For instance, one of those was the partnership with the Committee of the Regions. We have a very important partnership with the Committee of Regions, and we do joint actions and joint events. We had a big event last year about health and mental health, for instance, for migrants. We have the Urban Academy, another academy, which was run in the past by the URMAT Partnership on Inclusion of Migrants and Refugees, and we're planning a new session next year. So I'm here also as a spy to see what Alice is going to do, because we're really, really very interested. And the way we did this academy was that we wrote to our members, to the municipalities of the network, asking them to come up with a problem. What is your main problem? So we put everything together, and we organize sessions around these problems, and also people, other municipalities could bring expertise, could bring solutions. And I remember a very interesting session on housing, for instance, of us. Municipalities with big problem of housing, and others coming with solutions. So that was really, really very well done. And I hope that next year we'll be able to do another, and I count also on your involvement in that. So funding opportunities. We're aware of how difficult it is to navigate the EU funding labyrinth. It is very difficult. We have the AMIF, which is the Asylum Migration Integration Fund, which we manage directly in DG Home, but there are also other funds which are eligible for integration. And these other funds is the RDF, which is the European Regional Development Fund, and is mainly for infrastructure, For instance, if you want to build a center, a welcome center, that's ERDF, it's not AMIF. And DSF Plus, the European Social Fund Plus, which is a very big fund. And it's mainly for labor market integration, but not only. And many actions related to long-term integration. While AMIF, we use it mostly for newcomers, first approach to migrants. And we have developed, we have webinars on this, and we have developed a toolkit, which is on the website. And there you can see which fund would be the best for, depending on what you want to apply with, which is the service for which you want to apply. So AMIF, now we have a call every year. So AMIF has one part goes to the member states, and this is 70% goes to the member states, and the member states will do a call to local and regional authorities who will have to apply to this call. Of course, there are limitations in the sense that the member state, 30% has to be on integration, cannot spend 50% of their budget on or 80% of their budget on returns. 30% compulsory has to be on integration, so we have to approve that. And of course, on integration, where is their needs, because it changes from country to country. So what they get, if they have municipalities participating in the projects, they get a higher co-financing rate, which is 90% instead of 75%. So this is how indirectly we try to push for member states to include municipalities. And what we call the thematic facility is the other part of AMIF, so 70% goes to member states. The other 30% is managed centrally by us. So there we have a call every year, and for transnational projects. And there, municipalities are, of course, very much encouraged to participate. It has to be together with other stakeholders from other member states. In the previous years, we had a specific topic, integration on the local level. This year, it's not a specific topic, integration on the local level, because we think that local level is everywhere. But there is a specific notice that projects with municipalities will be favored. So we encourage applications to include local and regional authorities. So this is first time which we mention this publicly, because it's in the making. It should be published end of March, but I think it will be probably beginning of April. We're a bit late. So which are the topics this year is to facilitate, support access to healthcare, support integration of migrant women, improve digital skills among migrants, complementary pathways linked to education. This is refugees being in third countries who come to the EU to study, and protection of children in migration. So all these, of course, have a very important local aspect. The budget is 34 million. It's not equally distributed between the the five. It's not yet officially decided, so I wouldn't say more than that, but you have a global idea. And we want to have, of course, involved member states, but when this is published, and you will read in bold characters that local and regional authorities should be partners in the applications. So we hope that this will help promote more, support the role of local and regional authorities. So furthermore, what we try to do is to learn from each other through different ways, exchange best practices, support volunteering actions also. And this, we cooperate with other Commission departments for education, for instance. This would be Erasmus Plus for volunteering. So there are different strands of cooperation. So it's not only AMIF and ESF and UNHCR. And another important role, again, in this networking and learning from each other, field is the expert group on the groups of migrants, which was established, I think it was 4 years ago. When we published that, we had over 500 applications. It was a huge success. We have 22. We had to choose 22. But coming from different backgrounds, different member states, based in coming from different countries, based in different member states, having different statuses. It's migrants, non-migrants, refugees, representing organizations, being there for themselves. So we try to have, a representative sample. And this group, these experts, they play a very important role in giving advice. And they are huge supporters, of course, of the local level and the link between migrant associations and local administrative authorities. So a few words about the urban agenda that I mentioned in the past, at the beginning. So the urban agenda partnership, it's run by DG Regio, Director General for Regional Development. And there are several partnerships, and one partnership is called the Partnership on the Inclusion of Migrants and Refugees. And this goes back in 2016. It's been a very successful partnership. It's been extended now in 2027. We had a new call last summer. I'm sorry to say that no Baltic municipality applied, so we don't have any representative from the Baltics. It's difficult because we just send the information, we put on the website, then we send information to the member states, because I'm sure you come to me and you say, we didn't know. It's difficult to pass sometimes the information we try to distribute to, pass the information to all our stakeholders, but sometimes it doesn't reach. I'm fully conscious of that. But we have the city of Warsaw, who's a new member, and this is really nice. We have also Timișoara, which is a new member. So this is plenty of Italian cities, but they were there from the past, but also new applied. So, cities from one country, then they network from the others, then other cities apply, so they know better how things work. But it's a very useful partnership. We're having the next plenary in Strasbourg is with the Council of Europe and the You Belong project together, the cultural cities. And what we try to do in this partnership is to learn from each other and to develop recommendations and actions which would improve the inclusion of migrants. And of course, it's not a closed partnership. I mean, we cannot have too many members because then it's not manageable. But we're very happy to include or to invite experts from municipalities who will come to speak about the subject, which is relevant, in which they have expertise. When we organize the Urban Academy next year, it will be open to all municipalities, so it's not only for the members. So there are many things we could do together, even if you are not, formal members. And we have members coming to municipalities say, I didn't know, and then we invite them for a session, and then they learn how it is. So there are ways of collaborating. And you mentioned a lot Ukraine today. We know that all the Baltic countries played an important role in welcoming Ukrainians. Also, there were special sessions on Ukraine from the urban partnership. And there we had also municipalities from the Baltic states which spoke in this event. And this new phase, which started 24, we are now building about the new program and the new actions that will be finalized at the end of the month in Strasbourg. But the strands in which we tend to work is mainly labor market integration, and focusing on newly arrived migrants, because this is the ones who have the highest problems. Then we'll work on disinformation, which is all important. Access to health is another big issue for, and then we have education, which many municipalities have big problems how to integrate kids who don't speak the language and they arrive often, in big numbers. So these are but it will be finalized, will be on the website. So if you have any ideas about this, if you'd like to contribute, you can always write to us. as I said, we're very welcome to welcome you in one session if you want to present about the subject, or if we do events to include you. So we are really open to that, because that's the point. I mean, it's not to do things in a small group, it's really to exchange and to spread the word. So I think I'll finish here. There's some links. You can have the slides, so it's not... I'd like to go back to what Laima Geikina said, if I pronounce your name correctly. Lots has been done and lots needs to be done. I like that very much. And I think that we can do that together. We're here to support you, of course, given our limitations. But we are there with open minds and open spirits and innovative ideas, so we can work together for integration. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this very comprehensive and insightful overview of what EU is doing for municipalities and for integration of newcomers. So our next panel will look a little bit more down, so it's at the national level, at EU member state level. And please, the very distinguished members of the next panel from the Ministry of Culture of Latvia, Signe Grube, Laura Perečevite. I was trying pronouncing her name. And Estonian Minister of Culture, Kate Spiegel. We will be having interventions or presentation from our panel members for about 8-10 minutes, and then we will continue with discussion from my side and also from the audience side. So please also, if you have any questions, please get ready and you will have a chance to ask them. So yes, we heard quite a lot about what EU is doing in capacitating municipalities, how they are also pushing national governments to engage with municipalities. So can I please ask Kate Spiegel from the Ministry of Culture of Estonia to present an overview of the situation regarding newest developments in legal and political fields regarding integration. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's very nice being here today. There's a lot of new faces, but also I see colleagues from Estonia. So very excited to be here today. I also had a few slides prepared, but I'm not sure if we're going to use them. So anyways, I wanted to speak about briefly on what we are doing right now, national level. So from the Ministry of Culture, the Cultural Diversity Department. So actually, as you know, the world isn't getting any easier or any safer or any simpler. So I would say it's the same in our work. In ways, it's getting better and better. We managed to solve some issues, but then new ones arrive. I'm sure that in your everyday work you feel the same. It's very much the same because, yes, because for the past few years it's been a crisis after crisis, which all has affected our work. So yes, that's it. But coming to integration and what's happening in Estonia, I'm very happy to say that our focus is, of course, providing services and doing policy making on the state level, but also very much working together with the local municipalities, more and more so, and also actually working with the third level, which is the community level. So how can I change the slides? Thank you so much. So yes, as I mentioned, 3 different levels. And luckily we have funds, both state funds, but also foreign funds in doing so. As I mentioned, the world, the societies, they're not getting simpler. So it's the same with Estonia. I mean, when we gained our independence, surely Estonia has always been multicultural in the sense that we have had national minorities, and of course, similar to Latvia, where we have a big Russian-speaking minority, and I think even if in media we are still facing these headlines that nothing has been done, I would like to say that a lot has been done, and we have been in the right track. But of course, for the past 10 years, the world has changed a lot. We now have a lot of new immigrants from all kinds of different parts of the world. So very many different languages, very many different cultures. So these are the new challenges that we face. And as we've heard here today already several times, the integration happens locally. So yes, there are things that the state can do and provide. For example, we have the so-called adaptation program, Settle in Estonia, which offers these basically civic courses or introductory courses about life in Estonia, how the society works, how it is to study in Estonia, values, so on and so forth, but also language studies. But yet again, we definitely need the support of the local municipalities and also communities. Because, I mean, we as officials, we can do as much as we can. The entire nation has to be behind us, so to say, because we've all heard that integration is always a two-way street. So if the nation as a whole or the communities don't support having these new people, it's going to be a struggle. So I'm actually very happy that the past integration monitoring that we had in 2023, released it actually just last year, 24, shows that there is understanding amongst different groups in Estonia, and we share similar values. So there are none of these violent conflicts between different nations. So again, I can say that we have done things the right way. Surely things can always be better. But still, I mean, the fact that people with different linguistic and cultural backgrounds trust each other, it's a big thing. And I think this is also a good stepping stone from here, knowing that that Estonia has become a destination country for migrants, and it will be so. We will have more and more new people coming, and if so far most of them have chosen bigger cities, such as Tallinn. I can see my good colleague from here receiving most or more than 60% of the newcomers. Now it's getting wider. I mean, we have a lot of newcomers also, even on the islands. So, of course, what changed this was also the changes that happened in Europe after Russia started its full-scale invasion in Ukraine in the beginning of 2020. So, because Estonia has a lot of Ukrainians also right now. So this, I think, also in a way has helped state and local municipalities really work together. So if there is anything good coming out of a very horrific situation, I think I can say that it's a positive development. Yes, I've already said that there are challenges. It's not going to get easier, and I'm afraid, but at the same time I can also say that I think we are doing well on working on different levels, having both state support, state funds, but also foreign funds. Of course, funding is something that is never, it's never enough. There could be so much more, so much more could be done. But at the same time, still, I would say that we have different options and possibilities right now. It's a bit of a puzzle, our work, but I think generally it's going well. So this is the overall picture. Very briefly, I'm going to show on my next slides what we do with foreign funds, specifically directed at local municipalities. So in cooperation with the Association of Estonian Cities and Municipalities, we have this supporting project or program or measure for supporting local governments in providing integration services. It's been now, this cooperation has been going on for a little over 2 years, and I think it's a work in progress, but it's getting better and better, and we have now entered a new phase in this cooperation where we actually have a service designer helping some of the local municipalities with designing specific services needed for their population. And we're very happy to say that at the end of last year, we launched another initiative, but going to the third level, which is the community level. So very happy that we have started this cooperation with Integration Foundation, Estonian Folk Center Culture, and National Foundation of Civil Society, actually making more connections between people with different linguistic and cultural backgrounds, and of course also Estonians. So having various smaller and bigger events, joint events, and also working with the third sector, empowering them, having more and more also people from other backgrounds joining their work. And also briefly on my next slide, there are activities that we do mostly through our Integration Foundation, but with the Asylum, Migration and Integration Fund. So also slightly more specific target group supporting third country nationals. So with information dissemination and also getting access to public services, but also again making these connections with the local communities. And my final slide, please. And we are also working together with the local media on this in this measure. So also that the local media outlets and the journalists know how to write about these topics, how to also show the people that there are these fantastic diverse people in these communities, not just focus on perhaps problems, which is usually the case with media. I'm sorry, but it's how it works. And of course, as Estonia is a fully digital nation, we have to bear in mind various digital services as well, that the people who come to Estonia, that they have access to them as well. So, but right now, I think that's it from my side. So thank you, and looking forward to our discussion and also your further questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think we can continue down south towards Latvia. Signe Grube, advisor to the Minister of Culture, Parliamentary Secretary at the Ministry of Culture, Latvia.
Dear colleagues, partners, honored guests, it is a pleasure to be here today to discuss one of the most important challenges and opportunities we faced: integration. Today we will explore the latest institutional and legislative developments, evaluate our progress and challenges, and most importantly focus on how we can turn policies into real opportunities for migrants, refugees, societies as a whole. Successful integration is not just about laws and regulations, it's about people, and it's about creating opportunities for everyone to belong, contribute, and thrive. Integration is not just a policy matter, it is a process that affects every aspect of daily life. When we focus on knowledge, collaboration, and local governments, we create communities where everyone, regardless of their background, has opportunity to participate and succeed. Today's discussion is not only about what we have achieved, but also about what we can do better to ensure a more inclusive, cohesive, and engaged society. If about legal legislation in Latvia, we speak about two laws. The first one is the asylum law that ensures the right to seek asylum and acquire refugees or alternative status in Latvia. And second one is the law on assistance to Ukrainian civilians. Offers targeted support to Ukrainian civilians who have left Ukraine or are unable to return due to the armed conflict caused by the Russian Federation. If we are speaking about a Ministry of Culture, then the Ministry of Culture plays a central role in developing national policies for social cohesion and civic engagement. It ensures that integration policies are inclusive, strategic, and aligned with long-term goals. Latvian long-term vision for integration is outlined in the strategic framework for cohesive and civically engaged society, and also in action plans. Each of these plans builds on past experience, ensuring that integration efforts remain progressive, data-driven, and adaptable. Our evaluation of previous action plans has highlighted key challenges: a growing sense of belonging but weak social cohesion, civic participation shifting online, reducing engagement with NGOs, underrepresentation of marginalized groups in decision-making, and fragmented Latvian language learning opportunities. By recognizing these challenges, we can develop target solutions to create a more effective and inclusive integration program further. One of our EU-funded programs, what is very similar to Estonian example as well, is social cohesion, strengthening community self-organization, expanding cooperation and participation skills, focus on strengthening local communities, encouraging self-organization, collaboration and participation, empowering local NGOs, municipalities and vulnerable groups. We believe that providing communities with resources, trainings and structured programs enable people to actively participate in local decision-making and integration efforts. And second one, promoting access to cultural services. We also believe that culture is a powerful integration tool. Our approach ensures that equal access to professional art and cultural events, and also the civic engagement through cultural awareness. By embracing cultural diversity, we foster mutual understanding, participation, and social cohesion as well. EU funding initiatives to ensure sustainable integration. We are working with One-Stop Agency, with Social Integration Foundation, free Latvian language courses, introductory courses for third country nationals, and some innovative integration programs as well. And of course, we are still supporting Ukraine civilians in Latvia together with Society Integration Foundation. These are Latvian language courses and cultural orientation programs. But of course, what's our main challenge, as we said, it's that social cohesion from fragmentation to coordination from state to state level is one of our biggest challenge we face in this policy fragmentation. We must prevent a duplication of functions and ensure that responsibilities are clearly defined. And integration policies as well should be centralized, allowing for better efficiency, coordination, and impact as well. We believe that improving coordination, we make sure that the resources are used effectively and that support reaches those who need it most. Migrant often faces complex bureaucratic procedures when settling in the new country, and therefore the One-Stop Agency serves as a single access point for essential services, what is necessary for newcomers. By consolidating these services, we ensure that the newcomers receive support, guidance, and integration opportunities effectively. And therefore, we see also the bigger role of municipalities in Latvia, because integration happens at the local level, as we all mentioned here, which is why municipalities play a vital role in providing localized support, ensuring accessibility of services and building community connections. And by integrating municipalities into the One-Stop Agency network, we ensure accessible integration, more productive and more better for all of target audience. And one of the main points also is Latvian language learning as one of the main tools for a social integration program. The importance of a coordinated system is a long-term success that we need. It's unified database, it's cost transparency, and also service aligned with labor market needs. And in conclusion, the integration is not just about policies. It's about people. And municipalities and NGOs are at the heart of this process, ensuring that policies translate into real opportunities. And I hope that let us work together to build a stronger, more inclusive society where everyone can contribute and belong. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Signe. And I think we are ready for the third intervention. Laura Berevičiūtė, Head of Foreigners in Integration Unit at the Ministry of Social Security and Labor of the Republic of Lithuania.
Do you have I do have slides. I can come to the
Yes,
podium
please.
as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I would be as fluent with the next slide thing. Mine is this one.
These are extremely dry slides, mostly for me, not for you, sorry about that. Just so I won't forget anything to tell you that I need to. Basically, all three countries are more or less at the same level, I think. We are all moving towards the same decisions and trying to enable and empower municipalities to do better policies at the local level. And I'm kind of really glad about that, because it means that we're doing something correctly, or at least if we're not, then we're doing, all three of us, the same kind of thing. So. Lithuania, differently from Latvia and Estonia, we never really did have a major minority. So for us, war in Ukraine was quite a shock to the whole demographics. The part of foreigners in the country has doubled in a few years. Many of the municipalities had to start working with foreign origin, with migratory background residents. And we were quite excited to see the way the municipalities handled the influx from Ukraine. The municipalities were really extremely successful in many of the areas. And this kind of pushed us even more to move towards a more sustainable system and to working with the municipalities. So everything had to be done 5 years ago, so we're late. But we have a new government at the moment, and I'm extremely happy that we have even 2 actions in our government program action plan, when 4 years ago we weren't even mentioned as a topic there. So this means that the government is seeing our topics, is seeing how important we are and how important it is to work on the integration. So there are a few topics that I think are important and that where we are focusing on. So the first one is mental health. And mental health is the major need, the most important one to address from the start, especially when we're talking about forced migration. Because if we do not address the issues of mental health and well-being, even if people are integrated into the labor market and they seem successful, later on, they will fall from the system, and it will be much more expensive both to the national level and to the local level to integrate them back. So what we're doing, and everything is also financed by AMIF, ESF+, Swiss-Lithuanian program, Nordic funds. So just like other Baltic states, we're still rely quite strongly on the EU funding. So one project that we are already implementing is focused on mental health literacy program development, and it is focused on frontline workers, so that we could enable them to recognize the symptoms and to know when a person needs help, and then also to enable these frontline workers to access help themselves, to have supervision, because it is quite a taxing work, especially when you're working with forced migration people. Then another thing we're working on is developing a minimum service standard for mental health promotion and psychosocial support. We have a national working group, and I think this working group has the smartest people in Lithuania on mental health issues. And they are developing a standard that will help people to see what kind of services are available at the local level. How can I help a person? What is lacking? What maybe needs to be financed more? This will be done by the end of April this year, and then we're planning to launch another project which would work on competence building on how to use the standard. Language. Language is a tricky thing in Lithuania. So we do have one pilot which is being implemented by the Reception and Integration Agency. This is a new agency that we established. And they are working on a centralized access to translation and interpretation services. They are trying to collaborate apps and live interpretation in order to cover the most important needs. That means the vulnerable groups, the services in health, psychosocial services, and similar. And then we have a huge gap in language training provisions in Lithuania. We know that. At least now we have a clear action and we're planning to solve it. And we have an action in the government program. So I'm hoping for some kind of breakthroughs in the upcoming years. I hope next time you see me, I will be able to present to you something more substantial. At the moment, we do finance language trainings, but it's pilot projects. It's not really systematic. We don't really have a systematic testing procedure, so there's quite a lot to work on in this area for us. Then a really important part is social and cultural introduction. What Lithuania is about, what to expect from us. No, we will not say hello to you, even if we're neighbors, at least for the first 5 years. After 5 years, maybe we will say hello. That's normal, that's Lithuania for you, even if we are the south of the Baltics. So we are developing a social and cultural introduction program for foreign-born residents in Lithuania, and it also will be done by the end of April. We have a conference planned in April to introduce both the MHPSS program and this one, so you're all invited. And after this program, we are launching another initiative to train the trainers and then to have these people who could provide the service at the local level. And yes, another extremely important need, this is one-stop access to information. And every time any kind of evaluation is being carried out, the main thing is that there's a lack of information, there is no clear communication, and communication is always the issue. So we did launch a national platform, which is Migration Information Center, or MIT Center, which should provide this information on different topics for any foreign-born person coming into the country. We haven't evaluated the success of it yet. It launched a few years ago. We'll have a midterm evaluation probably just to see whether it's successful or whether we're still not addressing the need for information. And yes, the best part is a need to have a clear policy. And this means that we have to be clear on what we are expecting from people coming to the country. How do we understand the integration? What do we expect from you, and what do we provide you as a country? What is the functions of the Minister of Social Security and Labor, of other ministries? What is the function of the municipalities? We do not really have a clear legislation at the moment, and we do not have a very clear coordination mechanism. So what we are working on, we have coordinators of integration in 16 municipalities. Many of them are here, yay. And I'm very excited to see these coordinators. We already have the one meeting, it's just starting. I know that Estonia is ahead of us with their coordinators, but I'm hoping we will be learning from their mistakes and their good practices, so it's always good to be second. But these coordinators, their function is in a way to build a network at the local level, to know the needs of their residents, the challenges of the institutions and the ministries, institutions and the municipality. And then to be able to identify target support which is needed for the residents of foreign origin in order for them to access public services. Now, we're not at the Nordic level yet, we all know that. We don't have that kind of financing. We need to try to pool all the finances and all the opportunities that we have in order to achieve the best results. So that's why we want to finance targeted support in order for people to reach the public support, the public services that are being provided by the state and municipality. And to finish, so the Ministry of Social Security and Labor, we are the ones together with an institution under our ministry, Social Service Department, how are you called, Živile? Social Service. You're not listening to my presentation, I see. So we have this department which is responsible for monitoring the quality of social services. They are the ones coordinating the coordinators network. And we are participating in it. We want to be very active and to communicate with the municipalities. And then our ministry is also the chair of the Government Commission for the Integration of Foreigners. So we are at a very good place to dictate what kind of policy could be developed. We also know that our function is national communication and awareness building. We have a plan to launch a communication campaign at the end of this year. We want to increase maybe a balance in the media regarding migration and migrants. Because when you look into the evaluations, migrants bring a lot of added value to the country and to the municipality, starting from GDP to a more resilient society. But we don't really know that because the media is quite negative towards migration. So what we're aiming is to build a more of a balance of information in the public. And then also we are coordinating this information platform, this one-stop information shop, something like that, the Migration Information Center that I've mentioned before. And an institution under our ministry, Reception and Integration Agency, they are the ones which are responsible for the centralized access to translation services. And they are the ones that should be building their competence in integration of foreign-born Lithuanian residents and maybe become a center of this competence building in the future. And then also our agency is the one which is responsible for implementation of the social and cultural introduction program. And they are the ones implementing the project on training the trainers. So thank you for your attention. That will be all from me.
Thank you so much to all panelists. I think it was very insightful presentations about context and tools and experiences in each country. As already panelists themselves mentioned, there are quite some similarities in receiving and integrating refugees and newcomers among the countries. But of course, also we see that there are also differences and also already awareness where you could reach out to your partners and where you can already learn from their mistakes, which is always better than learning from your own. But I would like to continue the discussion and ask each panelist a little bit, of course, as the Integration Academy is about municipalities. We heard already from that by introduction by EU Pact on Asylum coming into force, engagement with municipalities in development integration policies will be mandatory. For now, it's a choice of governments, of municipalities, and other stakeholders. So my question is, what are required conditions now to engage with municipalities? What should be in place so the cooperation, engagement with municipalities are meaningful and it's working?
Starting off with an easy one, yeah, right? what should be in place? Most definitely good cooperation between different levels, I mean national and municipal in every aspect, so to say, but perhaps looking forward to, more towards the municipal level. Definitely they have to know which people they have in their local municipalities, what are their needs, but also what are their previous experiences, what are their capabilities. So this is very much what we are doing right now. So yes, as you mentioned, going forward with these new regulations, so we would actually be ready if there would be a case of receiving more refugees. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm playing with the microphones. The first thing that I thought of is more motivation, maybe, both from the national level and from the municipal level. Cooperation is extremely important as well as having the data and having the information on what kind of situation is at the local level. So we're still struggling, I think, with data and evidence-based policies, so that is an issue. Clear communication is very important, and that is always an issue probably. But I'm still staying with the motivation as the most important thing, I think, because even when you are drafting the best regulation you can, it always ends up with the people who are implementing the policies. And I think that the municipality is the one which is of key importance for us if we want any kind of integration to be successful, because they are the ones working with the residents and they are the ones working with people.
Thank you. If I just can follow up, motivation, it is, of course, one of the most important factors. What do we do about motivation? How we can bolster it?
Well, what we have decided now is to hope that a good example will be the one that motivates. When we were selecting these 16 municipalities, we first took into account the numbers of foreigners in the municipality, but then the deciding factor of which ones will be included was whether they want to participate in the project. And there were some that we were talking with, but in the end they decided not to participate, and that's okay. We're hoping that the 16 that are participating will be a good example, and then later on the other ones will take this as something they want to do as well.
Thank you.
I would like to add also that it's very important is knowledge. Knowledge what to do in municipality level as well as in national level. And therefore it is very important this event and this training courses, and we very hope that our municipalities also will know more what to do in the process of integration and of social cohesion. But yeah, but the first one is knowledge. But it's very important to know what to do, and other factor is cooperation and mutual understanding each other of NGOs, municipalities, and civil society as whole.
Thank you. And I have one more follow-up question, and then we can open for questions from the audience. I understand that, as estimated by a representative from Lithuania, that Estonians are the most advanced in engaging with municipalities. But of course, it's all our countries are doing this, and it's about how formalized are these structures and how well coordinated they are. I wanted to ask you, but not only Estonia, but also what were factors that shaped the approach? How did you choose that you will go exactly with this approach, that this will be the most suited for Estonia?
So, I mean, I think I also already, in a way, mentioned it in my introduction, because it was just the fact that the society was changing. So many more new people were arriving to Estonia, and not just only to the bigger cities, Tallinn, Tartu, Pärnu, some others more, but also to smaller municipalities. And it was, it became a necessity, really, and I think it's becoming more and more so. So, yeah, I think it was realizing that it's now or never, because I think even now we should have done things earlier. But I mean, it's always this shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? Because I also mentioned that it's always a question of budgets and decisions. So. So the issues or the questions concerning integration, they are always slow societal changes, so it requires time. So, and us as humans, we tend to be impatient. So, yeah. So out of necessity, I would say, mostly.
Thank you. Anybody else?
The question is why we followed, or?
Yeah, maybe why did you choose Estonian example, or did you look for some other modalities, how to engage with municipalities?
We didn't really choose Estonian example, we just now know that we did. But I think we based probably our approach on the Nordic countries example. So they are the ones building everything on the municipal level. But that was a theoretical approach once we started drafting our initiative. But then I think the influx from Ukraine, the Ukrainian people coming were kind of more of a pressure and I don't know, not a blessing, I don't know how to say that. It showed, for me, for example, working with the municipalities during the influx of Ukrainians, it kind of showed me that this is the right approach, because you could see that there are plenty of really motivated people at the municipal level, and you can see how much they can do at the local level, and they can do much more than I can on the national level. And even if I finance projects from national level, I'm still quite limited on what I can do. And then the municipalities are the ones that are seeing everything at the local level, and they have all their institutions. So this is, I think, the only correct approach.
If I add, in Ukrainian examples show us how we can cooperate in different levels. And in Riga and in Latvia, it is a very good example about this Ukrainian support center. And therefore, it is maybe the first sign to look on this situation from this perspective, and understand that municipalities are our colleagues, not only municipalities. Yes.
Thank you so much. So please come up with your questions to representatives from national governments, ministries. Dārta?
First of all, I wanted to thank you for the presentations. It was really, really interesting to see the situations in all of the three countries. But you mentioned database policy making, and I would firstly like to ask this to the representative of Lithuania and then the other ministries, because Laura, you mentioned it, the name database policy making, but What kind of data? What do you do to ensure database policy making in regard to policy making towards, for example, municipalities, collaboration, etc.?
I could expect such kind of question from you or Lina or someone. We're still struggling. In Lithuania, we do have this change in the statistics law a few years ago, and we have an option to have a pool of data from different registers. So what we did draft in a way just an Excel sheet of the data that we would need, like the municipality where person is living, then employment, residence permits, education, volunteering, a variety of data that could allow us to evaluate the success of the integration. And we did submit this as a request that we need this data. At the moment, we're still struggling because there are institutions and registers that are struggling to provide the data, and then we can't really connect different sources. So we're mostly still in the dark, but I don't know, with the change of government, it kind of seems that they are putting pressure on the institutions responsible, so maybe we will have some kind of breakthrough. And especially we are highlighting that the municipalities need this data as well, because they need to be able to understand what kind of residents they have and what do they need. And yes, the evaluators will need this data as well.
But to sort of continue this question, are municipalities interested in this data? Have they posed any interest?
They are. That was one of the first questions that we got from the municipalities, that we need the data on what kind of people do we have, and then to have the data to be able to communicate, even to have some awareness building campaigns on what kind of people are living here, what are they contributing, that they are creating employment places, that they are a part of the society. So yes, they are.
Anybody from the panelists maybe want to also add to no? Okay. Alice?
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Alice Szczepanikova. I'm a Migration and Freedom of Movement Advisor at the OSCE Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights, a partner to the Academy. And I just want to congratulate you on how developed and this long-term and well thought through your integration strategies are. It's part of my work to consult OSCE participating states when they're developing their integration strategies. So I have a kind of a comparative view, and I can say I was really, really impressed by, I think you even managed to like jump some of the hurdles that some countries took years to overcome. I wanted to ask, we will be talking a lot about the local level, but since you addressed the national level, and of course the national level is what sets the tone for the local level, I was struck by one thing that I saw, that Estonia and Latvia, the issue of integration is under the Ministries of Culture, which is quite unusual, I have to say. What I want to ask, in the context of, you mentioned it, the changing world, and it's challenging to deal with migration and integration issues, and migration is often securitized. We see that all over the region, in your region in particular, also in Poland where we are based. How do you ensure support from, what's called this whole government approach to integration, without which, of course, at the national level, there would be huge limits to what you can actually achieve with the best strategy. So how do you tackle this increasing securitization of migration, and how do you ensure support from other ministries in your work?
So perhaps I can start off with, yes, it's under the Ministry of Culture, and it hasn't always been so thoroughly like that. There's been changes over the past years. So integration, when we talk about our minorities, has been under the Ministry of Culture for 20 years or so. But the policy making towards new immigrants was initially under the Ministry of Interior. But in 2021, it changed, and they were brought together to the Ministry of Culture, because we see that the way we see integration in Estonia is through the Estonian culture, values, language. So there was this very specific side to it, so to say. But we do work very closely together with other ministries. For example, our national strategy, Cohesive Estonia, is actually a joint strategy with 3 ministries. So it's together with our Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Interior, and also Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So having diaspora there, having civil society there, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of cooperation. So yeah, perhaps that's the nutshell, so to say.
We have quite similar situation in Latvia, but of course integration policy is a horizontal issue, and therefore all ministries are involved in integration policies. But we have the Social Integration Foundation that also is coordinating the social inclusion activities in operational level. Therefore it is quite good organized.
Is social affairs more common? Yeah? Okay. In our case, we have this commission at the governmental levels, where all of the ministers or chancellors are participating. So it's a political level commission, and we are the chair of it. This does not mean that the cooperation is always successful, especially nowadays when it's when the geopolitical situation is such as it is. And the securitization, as you mentioned, it does play a role, and it is a hurdle, but in the end it depends quite a lot, I think, on the political willingness and understanding of this added value of integration. And then depending on that, we are more successful or less with the cooperation. But at the technical level, I think with other civil servants at our level, the cooperation is quite good. It's only that, especially with the migration, it's a very politicized question always.
Thank you. Any more questions from the audience? If not, then I really want to thank our panelists for these very valuable contributions and insights into your country experiences. Thank you so much. And we can go for a well-deserved cup of coffee so to be ready for the next panel, which will be more, again, level down on experiences of towns and cities. Thank you. Okay, I think we are almost all back, and we can start discussion and sharing experiences at municipality, town, and city level, which is the focus of our discussion and further also training for tomorrow. So I'm very happy to invite for the panel representatives of cities and municipalities, Janika Hango, Head of Adaptation and Integration, Municipality of Tartu. Hello. Inga Vismantiene, Vice Mayor of Akmene District, Municipality, Lithuania. Irina Khabarchuk, Coordinator of Ukrainian Refugees in Ventspils, Municipality. Dārta Pelse, Policy Analyst in Migration Integration, Providus. I don't think I have to introduce Dārta. Małgorzata Zmysłowska, Inspector for Equal Treatment, Office of Public Participation, City of Lublin, Poland. And Albert Mischerak, Intercultural Dialogue Team of the Wrocław Center for Social Development, also Poland. So everybody has seats, yeah? Excellent. And we will change a little bit the sequence of panelists because we thought that maybe we will start with overview of the situation regarding municipalities, and therefore I would like to give the word to Dārta because she and her think tank Providus have done a study on experiences of municipalities receiving refugees. So please, Dārta.
Thank you, Dace. But just to be a bit more precise, we are still doing the study on the capacity of municipalities in Latvia in receiving Ukrainian civilians. As like the other Baltic states and countries overall in Europe, Latvia has faced increased number of arrivals, and in the context of the Baltic region, this number of arrivals is something that these countries, including Latvia, haven't seen before. So this is also the case of Latvia, and me and my colleagues at Providus, we thought that it would be crucial to do a study on the process of how municipalities received and welcomed Ukrainians in Latvia, what experiences they had previously, what was their capacity, and so on. And the data really shows that we did two surveys now, one at the start of 2024, and we received data from the other survey we did in municipalities in Latvia just recently. And the first part of the survey shows that at the start of 2024, that most of the municipalities didn't have in Latvia previous experience in work with the newcomers overall. So receiving a large numbers, especially in the regions of the capital of Latvia and on the eastern part where Latvia borders with Russia, these were the municipalities that were, especially at the start, affected the most. And Providus has also worked on the development of a comprehensive data model on integration outcomes of Ukrainian civilians in Latvia, and we also see that there are discrepancies among data collection practices among municipalities. That is why it was really interesting to see the perspective of representatives of Lithuania in the last panel, but if we return to the study, the most apparent question in this context is the framework, and if we go to the start, right after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine and arrivals from Ukraine, this was a crisis response period for many municipalities. I would say all municipalities in Latvia, not only on local level, but also among the NGOs and on a national level. So a framework of reception of Ukrainians was established, and in the study we divide this period in two parts. The initial crisis response period, and the second one is focused more on long-term integration. But if we talk about the initial response period, municipalities in Latvia were primarily engaged in crisis management, providing immediate shelter, food, and other essential services. But the framework initially was considered to be a short-term emergency, but it has now evolved in a long-term reality. Overall, there is no obligation on local municipalities to develop integration policies. So such developments are dependent on the initiative of municipalities. And in this context, it is important to mention that the framework is also different among different migrant groups in Latvia. For example, assistance of Ukrainians is stipulated in special law to address this crisis response. However, this regulatory framework for Ukrainians does not include long-term goals for these efforts of integration that municipalities also inevitably provide in regards to language learning, cultural orientation courses, engagement in social activities, and overall socioeconomic integration. And this transition period sort of was carried out, I would say, on a local level as the initial crisis response period when transformed into a long-term reality, which we are at now. As I mentioned before, this all happened in a context where municipalities had little or no previous experience in both crisis management and with increased arrivals and the overall welcoming of newcomers with a focus on long-term integration. So approaches in provision of services as well as long-term integration measures differ case by case, municipality by municipality. And with the stabilization and decline of new arrivals, as I mentioned, the transition from the initial crisis response period to where we are at now, a lot of municipalities see questions raising with the goals of long-term integration measures, especially in the fields of education, socioeconomic inclusion, and the overall support of inclusion into host community. I just looked at the last data we received from the municipalities from the last survey, and we asked the question whether municipalities see themselves as primary actors in the field of migration and or not. And most of them have responded that they see themselves as a part of this overall system of integration, but it needs to be supported with the other by other actors in the integration system. So they also we heard within this conference about the national level policies also affect the local level, and the municipalities in Latvia have indicated that there is a need for overall framework with the in regard to integration of Ukrainian civilians, and I would like to also conclude, because we don't have much time, and to talk about the main challenges we see within this study, which involve a lack of clarity regarding the role of municipalities in integration and inclusion, as the initial crisis response period has came to a conclusion. There is no clear agreement that municipalities are involved, not only in crisis management, but also in support to long-term integration. It is also evident that municipalities perceive this role differently. Some view it as a short-term challenge, but and do not develop targeted integration support measures, while others take the initiative to create programs for inclusion of children in the education system, assist adults in adaptation to local community support, and support also job search. And the survey conducted by Providus at the end of 2023 reflects that municipalities see that there is a lack of sufficient funding for integration support activities, and they also lack the resources, human resources and competency, as they say, as they mentioned, that they do not have previous experience in receiving welcoming newcomers. And to conclude completely, it is important to note that welcoming Ukrainians in Latvia has been a stress test for all institutions of governance, especially municipalities, as I mentioned in the start, and they have gained experience both in crisis management and provision of long-term integration services. And with the increased arrivals of newcomers, the role of the local governments has inevitably shifted, and it has emphasized the importance of that municipalities play in regard to both the initial assistance and long-term perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dārta. I think it was very, very useful for us to identify these key challenges municipalities face. And now we can go further and listen to individual experiences of municipalities. And we would like to invite the next panelist, Irina Hubarchuk from Ventspils, to speak about. And I would like to also mention that Irina is Ukrainian refugee herself, and so she is employed by municipality, and this is not only a municipality example, but also personal example of inclusion.
Thank you. And I'm grateful to be here today, and thank you for this opportunity. Today, I will speak about Ukrainians who have temporary protection in Latvia, because we all today speak a lot about migrants, refugees, and even newcomers. But we are people who have temporary protection in Latvia, and so far we faced such question: to stay here or go back home, and what we should to zero in on their further integration. I experienced the process of adaptation firsthand, as one of those Ukrainians who came with my family, with my children and elder mother in Ventspils. And to tell you the truth, the adaptation for 3 different generations was not easy. At the beginning, I have been working with Ukrainians in Ventspils as a volunteer, helping arrivals with the cooperation with municipality, and later I was appointed like a Ukrainian coordinator. With no doubt, such a decision was not bad, and it helps to regulate a lot of different processes. For example, during the crisis period 2022, when nearly 700 people arrived in Ventspils in short period, comparing to 1,030 people for the last 3 years coming in Ventspils, it was evident that a contact person is needed for facilitated communication between Ukrainians, municipality, and of course volunteer organizations. Such person could understand the mentality of Ukrainians, their psycho-emotional state, their anxieties, and this role helped to establish close communication between all society in Ventspils, and it helps to systematize the admission process, to build the efficiency working system and to ensure the up-to-date information flow, not only among Ukrainians, but among them and local community. And the result was mutual understanding and mutual cooperation. I still emphasize on the uncertainty state of Ukrainians in Latvia. It does matter to realize what does such status means to people. And it's explained why the familiar integration programs are so slow or are not productive here. Both local authorities and Ukrainians are struggling from this uncertain what's the next. Since the full-scale war began, the main idea was to adapt Ukrainians and to provide them the regular stable being here. And actually, it was clear their needs. They were very simple, and but it started to be challenging due to the amount of people arriving in Ventspils, in Latvia, of course, and they all were in distress, needing the same help. Help us, please. In Ventspils, we started from Ukrainian-speaking kindergarten groups, separated groups according to the age, where Ukrainian nannies and teachers created such atmosphere and made an environment safe and secure. Such way, children gradually were breaking through their fear, their anxieties. They back to the educational process where the specialists were working them. The result was positive and satisfied. Our children finally avoided such psychological problems with the consequences in future. Everybody who committed oneself to education implemented process made an increasable job. And so far, about 180 pupils are implemented and ready to study. And it was a complex approach of professionals, and they do their best. Moreover, the careful communication strategy of the municipality helped to prevent misunderstanding, hostility, even discrimination between Ukrainians and the local community. In many countries, you can hear a lot about different conflicts between refugees and local population. But in Ventspils, the authority successfully avoid such tension through a well-planned approach. The war is going on, and we all have to think about the long-term integration of Ukrainians. Among the Ukrainians appeared that category of Ukrainians who are ready to stay here, who are ready to integrate here, but what their future prospects aim here. I'm just trying to show our position and our situation through our eyes. And I'm talking about finding mechanism where Ukrainians can make the permanent temporary protection after, make the permanent residence permit after temporary residence permit. They will understand the full, clear educational processes in this country. And of course, the active programs for preparing Ukrainians to the retraining in accordance to the needs of local labor markets, eliminations, bureaucratic obstacles on this way. And you know, the legal access to the labor market, it is one of the successful steps to the integration. This is what the long-term integration program should be aimed at. I see a demographic crisis in Ventspils, in Latvia, and I want to believe that this country really interested in Ukrainians. And because we can still work for the economy of Latvia, our children can be a future of this society, and this is have to be one of the approaches, the general approach of city development or even a country development. Integration programs change according to the situation. And today, the emphasis is on the self-sufficiency, self-employment, and even to self-survival. And today, it became important to create such conditions that helps to be more self-integrated here and not waiting for help. If early the power took decision alone, then today we have to concentrate our Ukrainian participants in different platforms for dialogues between the society and power. It helps to educate more active part of society who will create their own integration system, and they can implement it in general. And this active population have to propose the main mechanism of their integration. I'm convinced that Ukrainians themselves should take responsibility for their integration. And at this moment, the authority should flexibly support this process. I started my speech from simple statement. In the coming year, 1 or 2 years, Ukrainian will be on the consider, stay here or go back home. Will here have been support for them? Or maybe how will the laws will change at this moment? And finally, how will government with this municipality have shaped their policies to motivation for long-term integration? We may not have all the answer for these questions today, but together, through the dialogues, through the concrete actions, we can shape a future where Ukrainians who choose to stay here can finally integrate and contribute to the development of local community. I'm really grateful and thank you everybody, each country of Baltic countries, Baltic states, for your support, for you try to help us, you try to understand us, and you try to find that decision which help us to integrate, to stay here maybe in future, or to make a more closer connection in future between us. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Irina, and of course, a special thing, big thanks for sharing your personal experience and how you feel about these national measures taken to integrate refugees and newcomers. We will continue with also examples from other Baltic countries, and as the next speaker, I would like to invite I lost my page, sorry. From Tartu, Janka Hongo. No, sorry. As Tartu has a special also attitude towards integration, you have established the welcoming center already before the Ukrainian refugee crisis. So please take floor and share your experience.
Yeah, hello. I will take you back in year 2019. 6 years ago, in the springtime, we had kind of finalizing the negotiations between city government of Tartu and the two main big universities in Tartu, Tartu University and Estonian Life Science University. And the negotiations were about should or should we not establish Tartu Welcome Center. Tartu is the second biggest city in Estonia, university city, and there is always a constant kind of like a friendly battle between the Tallinn as a capital city and Tartu as a university city, which one is better and in which. So we decided that we want to create NGO with 3 partners, city and 2 universities. 100,000 inhabitants, more or less, but almost kind of like 100,000, is in Tartu. And at that moment, 78% of that were Estonians, 14 Russians, and then 8% in all other nations. And in universities, in Tartu University, which is the biggest, then there was about 12% of students were international. And every fall, about 1,000 international newcomers were coming to Tartu. Of course, the purpose was mainly to study or teach, but still there were 1,000 newcomers every fall in the city. And so far, there was no institution who would deal with them in kind of structured manners or something. So the NGO Tartu Welcome Center was established. I don't know, probably it's the same in other Baltic countries, but the integration field is really, really based on projects. We were such a lucky that the members of our NGO promised to pay every year membership fee, and we didn't have to rely on the projects only. So we started with 2 people, me and another colleague of mine, and first years we had 85% of clients were either students or university-related professionals. In the August of 2019, we opened the doors, and then in the spring of 2020 arrived COVID. And then kind of suddenly, we were in the middle of being translator, being the one who is seeking the new regulations. Nobody knew which they were or where they came from or when they will come, and everything was so fast and complicated. We had to realize what are the new regulations, and we had to translate and make them understandable to our international community. Then, with help of university students, we even had project-based practice in university and our students and Tartu Welcome Center. 5 students created online kind of entertainment courses for the newcomer students, because otherwise the international students who came to the city would be isolated in their dormitories, and that's what nobody wants. We survived that part of the year, and then we kind of already knew what we are doing, and everything was going smoothly, and everybody was already knowing that it's a Tartu Welcome Center. By that time, there was already 3 of us. We had, with the help of, at that time it was Interior Minister and the city government, we had a project funded by EU, and we got a person who could create Estonian ID codes and register the residency in our office. It's the first time ever when something like that is done not in the local government office. They said me in the beginning when I was going to the city of Tartu with that idea, they said it's not possible. It's never done by that way, and it's not going to happen. But actually we realized that it is possible. It's just that the official who does this job has to work in the city government, but it doesn't say where exactly is the location. So we got this 3rd person. We are really nicely running all these ID codes and living place registration things as well, because ID code is something essential for being in Estonia, as everything goes in the digital world, and every person is linked via ID code to the different systems. But then in year 2022, we all know what happened. And suddenly we had totally different situation when our working language so far has been mainly English. And as I told, 85% customers from the university. Then suddenly there was a room full of Russian speaking, because it was the only connection language for us Ukrainians. And again, we didn't know what to do. It was really a good place for Tartu in this bad situation, that we already had an institution who dealt with international newcomers. So the foreigners were not kind of something new, although before this Ukrainian refugee period, in Tartu, yes, probably in year 2014-15, we have seen few Syrian refugees, but they fled as soon as possible to the Germany, so we didn't see them at all. So basically, the real kind of newcomers who didn't come here for the study or teaching reasons were new for us. We were able to offer room for one Ukrainian refugee who was by profession psychologist. So for 1 year she was able to consult on their own language, her own countrymates. Now we are already back kind of to the normality. Now the 75% of our customers are the university or teaching-based clients. The language is also swifting back to the English, and we are really happy to see that the city, different nationalities who live in Tartu city, now we have 10% internationals in the city, and Russian number is decreased to the 11%. It was 14 before. They know us. They know where to come if you need help, if you have a question what you don't know where to ask it from. And it's so good to see that our kind of old customers bring new one and push it into our doors and say that's the right place, they will deal with you. We are not related to the social and healthcare department, like usually that kind of services are. Myself, now from last year, now already a year ago, I am also working now in the city government of Tartu. I am under the Department of Public Relations, because in Tartu we don't see the international or foreigners or newcomers as a social problem. Yes, they might need some kind of help for some period, but we don't want them to feel like a burden. They can just come to us, ask any kind of advice. We don't offer anything. We don't offer money, we don't offer accommodation, but we offer the knowledge, how to get it, how to find it, and where to go. And we never send anybody just to another table or door. We always make sure that there is a person waiting for that person, and at that specific moment they can meet and discuss the issue. Yeah, so I think that's for now.
Thank you so much. I think the level of flexibility your approach has been through, and what you have demonstrated is really amazing. So yeah, I hope no more big challenges ahead of you. And now I would like to give the floor to City from Lithuania, and unique about your experience is that you already started welcoming Ukrainian refugees, not when the full-scale war started, but already in 2014. So please.
So hello, everyone. First of all, probably I should give a bit of the context about the municipality. So Akmenė district municipality is a small municipality in the northern part of Lithuania near the border with Latvia, with 20,000 people living in. And yes, as you mentioned, we started to take not refugees, Ukrainians in 2014. There was a reason why they started to come over to our municipality at that time, because some of the people started to leave country then and started to look for the cheap properties. And at that moment, we had a very cheap properties in Akmenė, and they started to buy flats. So they formed a community there, and during, let's say, 5 years, some of them stayed and some of them moved back to Ukraine. But when the big-scale invasion started, they came back. And when started to come back, they started to bring all their friends, relatives, etc. So our case is unique because we received people from Ukraine not through the centers, let's say. They were all coming by themselves, knowing each other somehow, socially connected. So, and during a couple of weeks, we received more than 1,000 people. And that was a big issue because we were not ready for that, of course. We had no flats, nothing. So what we did, so the municipality administration started a dedicated team who will work with that issue. And with one dedicated coordinator, and that coordinator, I became that coordinator at that moment. Now we have a new coordinator, Kristina, who is taking over. But at that moment, I was the only one who was answering all the questions, answering all the calls, and my phone was everywhere in the screens in the town, and I was available 24/7. I wouldn't not advise to do that to you. This is not the best experience. But we managed somehow. And so members of the team came from the various fields and departments, including social services, healthcare, education, welfare, IT, and communication. Also, our employment agency joined our group, business association, and some small NGOs. One of the biggest issues that we do not have strong NGOs in the region. They're local, but they are not capable, let's say, to do on their own, to solve some things. They can help, but they cannot manage some questions themselves. As well, what we did, we invited Seniūnijos elders. I don't know. I will say how the Google Translate gives that word because I don't know exactly that administration term in English. Let's say elders, yeah? This is the district, how our municipality is divided into 6 districts, yeah? So every district has an elder, yeah? And they were like responsible for the newcomers in their territory. And the social worker had to visit every family who was coming. Now I know that it was not very legal because of the data protection, what we know now. But at the moment when we faced the crisis, we did as we felt we have to do it right. So when the families were visited, we realized what they need, because then we could understand how many people arrived to the municipality, who are they well, are they sick, are they children who need to go to school, because we received quite few women who was pregnant and expecting babies, and they were in a very huge shock, and one of them had to go into the labor in 2 weeks, and she said, no, I am going home to my doctor. And it was really like municipalities were not ready for such challenges. But now what I could advise and what we did, we invited, because among those newly arrival Ukrainians, we had doctors, we had teachers, so we invited those people to work in our
also in our schools and hospital. And this helped us to cope with the situation. And they integrated really well. And they helped their people to cope with the, with the stress and all the problems. As well, what we did, we, as a municipality, we wanted to be pilots and to do very well and to be, we first, let us try. And what we did, we asked our migration department to register our people locally, not to send them to these centers. After debates, we were lucky and we were allowed to do so. And this was, I think so, one of the best examples in Lithuania, how we managed to do with the people and not to make these centers more crowded. This worked really well. We also had a huge issue with the housing, of course. And we followed the same as whole Lithuania did. We started to register the properties offered by the locals, but locally. I started to do that in Akmenė. Everyone knew my number, and I invited everyone who can rent, who can offer, please call me. I was filling the register, and we were like just sending people, to live somewhere. Of course, we had no shared housing. This was a big issue, but we adopted our hospital, the building which used to be hospital. In a few days, we put some, showers, some appliances, of course, beds and so on, that people could stay. And we used that for nearly 2 years. Now we are very happy and proud that all our Ukrainians live somewhere in the properties, rented properties, or some of them already bought a new ones themselves. Of course, when we were proud that we received more than 1,000 people, now officially we have more than 500, but of course there is another issue Laura already mentioned, that our data differs. One system says one number, another different. And the truth is somewhere behind. And it's a really big issue because, now let's say, agencies are calling me and saying, can you share if you have any issues with the human trafficking? I say, I do not know. Data protection. This causes much bigger problems. And this showed us that we have to do this. And as Laura mentioned, we are working on that. And we will be very lucky probably in the end of the year, yeah? We will have a unique system. Yeah, I hope so. Because it's very important, because there is a lot of question about the women, about children, and I am really worried because I feel responsible for those people, and I am not sure if I know everyone who arrived, Even though we are a small community, still someone cannot be noticed. Maybe someone is facing some issues. So it's a really, really big problem, and this is why it is important for municipalities to receive data who is coming to our municipality. I remember a very nice example when we were visiting one municipality in Finland, when they shared their experience that municipality already receives from the migration department data who is arriving to the municipality, and they can prepare, social workers are preparing as well, because if they do not show up in the municipality in, let's say, 3 days, social worker goes and knocks on the door and asks, are you okay? So I think this is how it should work. Because then when you say we need motivation, we are motivated, but sometimes we are not enabled to help. And this is the problem. We have to solve this problem, and then I think it will be everything smoother. Of course, we are not ready for integration, let's say, as such as a process. It was much easier because Ukrainians came, you know? Similar still, language, no language barrier. As you said, you had some language issues. We had no, because we had already local Ukrainians, and we invited our teachers who were already retired, Russian-speaking teachers who could help, and they helped. Actually, I was working as a coordinator, but one lady behind was also used to be a Russian teacher, was working with me to help with this language barrier, because my Russian is worse than English. So, you know, sometimes I had to explain some things, but I couldn't. So, and this has really worked. So what we have to prepare when the other comers, people will be coming, how we will accept them, how the education process will come, how the, I mean, in hospitals, everywhere, and we have to think so many things, and everything is on the municipality, actually. You know, you can say that, like, government will release some, I don't know, law, and you must do that, but it's not working like that. We have to think together what is the best way, how to share know-how practices. It is very, I am very happy to hear that in, let's say, bigger cities you have such centers, you know, you have like abilities, but small towns also want, you know, to be attractive, because we are willing to take people. We are willing to have newcomers, because we have all the infrastructure for people to live there. And the regions still want to be alive, you know. And we see this as an opportunity, actually. Because Ukrainian children actually saved one of our schools. We had to close one of the village schools, but after receiving 200 people, the school was not closed. So this is a very nice example. So, yeah, so let's hope that data-based system is coming, municipality will be enabled, they will have all the data, and we will be ready for other newcomers. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Inga, for your really inspirational presentation. I think we really see that, yes, motivation can move things forward, and personal engagement as well. And now I would like to pass the floor to our panelists from Poland. Małgorzata Zmyslowska, Inspector for Equal Treatment, Office of Public Participation, City of Lublin. And this is also quite a unique example for us, because these cities already participated in Integration Academy, and I'm sure they can already consider and share what were the best gains and what they learned and what they did during the academy. Thank you.
So, good evening, everyone. To begin with, I would like to present a brief overview of Lublin in numbers, but a little. Of course, the population is about 329,000 people. We have about 40 refugees from Ukraine in our city. But of course, data it's about. In Lublin, we are still 6 places, public shelters for refugees in the city. It's about 224 people there. But in whole Lublin province, there are 72 such places, and we have 2,141 person. So we still have this kind of place. Lublin is university city, so we have 5 public university and 4 private. and we have around 9,000 students from 100 countries. The largest groups are, of course, students from Ukraine. It's about 3,400. 1,400 students from Zimbabwe. 1,280 students from Belarus. 475 students from Taiwan. So we are intercultural city. And of course, the city's role in integration is changing all the time. And now our goal today is to strengthen cooperation and networking even more, building coalitions and working groups that focus on important challenges and specific issues. So we cooperate with migrants, we ask and listen to migrants about what needs to be changed in our city. So this is our key elements in building system solutions. In fact, we are now at the stage of creating prototypes of solutions that can be modeled and adapted to a changing reality. But we also cannot forget that in every city, in your city, in my city, we have already many tools to integration, like such a parents' council in schools, libraries, senior clubs, community centers, and there we should help initiate integration process in this place and then just manage it well. So the first one of the most important achievements in Lublin is opening of Baobab, is city building, 1,500 meters and 5 floors, and it's a place for integration, which I'm to build relationship, and where is a lot of services such legal assistance, psychologists, legal advice, information point, language courses, a lot of workshops. Everything is in a different language, not only in Polish, but Ukrainian, Russian, English, of course. We also have, for example, anti-discrimination hub created by migrants from Syria, Iraq, Iran, Zimbabwe, Tunisia, Belarus, Ukraine, Russia, and where people can report discriminatory and racist behavior in their own language and get advice and help in reporting a crime. All of this run, of course, by non-government organization with the support of the city. The organization received funding from international organizations like UNHCR, thank you. They write projects, then raise fund, while the city also finances part of these activities because it's impossible put our budget a lot of money for integration, but I hope only in this year. Another space for integration is Spilno, funded by UNICEF, and we offer the same similar service, yes, psychology help, speech therapy, activities for women, language courses for children and adults, and many other things that change to meet current needs. What else? The last year, the city of Lublin opened more space for young people from everywhere, so not only from Poland, but from Ukraine, Belarus, and another country. This place we opened in a different district of the city. We now have 8 such spaces, managed by NGOs, and where the young people have psychological support, a lot of workshop, but also it's a space to spend time, make food, make coffee or tea, Of course, there are people working with youth people on site, but if someone needs anything, they have support. But if not, no one comes up, no one asks why they are here and not at school or at home. So it's space, really nice space for youth, where nobody asked about nothing. So in this year we want to psychologists. We want, of course, psychologists will be on duty on this place, and they will be able to come. But most important for young people, without giving their name and age. So they come to someone, ask about everything, and if they need some more supporting, they have. When they want only to talk, they can talk. So it's very important for our city because we have a lot of young people who want to, who have a lot of beautiful ideas, but they can't the place to do anything. So now they have. Of course, thanks to being part of the network in intercultural cities, we were invited by the Italian organization to join the project stand. So we prepare now our cooperation, and I think we made a lot of workshop in this young place and about the topic anti-rumors based on the program developed by ICC. As well as fake news, hybrid war, and disinformation, which is spreading strongly, especially with the humanitarian crisis on our eastern border. So we also cooperate with organizations from Poland that uplift the city, and through this cooperation we support organizations created by migrants, so which receive grants to implement their projects. I have one example that particularly moved me, was the initiative of an organization created by migrants from Syria. They create a beautiful project which migrants from different parts of the world, working and living in Lublin, taught English to municipality police and officials. So they also showed their countries and cultures, and most importantly, showed who they really are, and which completely changed the way they were viewed. And after 2 months, there was a joint barbecue. Everyone came with family, every participant and teacher, and we have a day of fun. We will be together, and for me, this is a true example for integration, when both sides have some benefits. Yes. University also approaching us with grants for research and project. So we have just started collaborating with the University of Warsaw and the Migration Research Center, which will help us conduct consultation on the integration policy of our city, because now we are writing this policy. They will organize additional consulting meeting with all actors from our city and with residents. So this is the most important thing, because we are in the process of writing and implementing the city's integration policy. But the police started to take shape last year, and we initiated in the Civil Dialogue Commission of Migrants. This is an advisory body to the city's mayor, and composed of representatives from city departments and social organizations, but what is the most important, not only from Poland, but social organizations from Belarus and Ukraine. So we work together, we meet every month, we talk a lot and cooperating. And without this cooperation between the city and NGOs, which has been going on for 20 years, we were able to launch the Cities Committee for Ukraine aid within 4 hours of the outbreak of the war in 2022. So the cooperation is the most important thing, the best thing in our city, because we have a lot of networks, and we still working together on the very different topics. So yes, and it was really pleasure to be a part of Academy of Integration, of course, because we all the time cooperate with actors in the city, but thanks for the Academy, in which you have the opportunity to participate, this network has expanded to many cities in Poland. And now, of course, the Academy has provided Lublin with tools, knowledge, interesting research, but and it all allowed me to meet people from other cities who are a great support me every month because we call to each other. We are still in contact, sharing doubts and successful, inviting each other to study visit to our city and exchanging experience. And now together we engage in international projects as partner cities. So this networking is the best thing how we can have now in the city. Thanks for Academy. And of course, in the end, on the end, the two most important things that you must remember, you worker in a municipality is the most important person, because your narrative about diversity, intercultural, equality, discrimination, anti-discrimination, and everything is the most important. And the second thing is we should remember about it, nothing about migrants without migrants. So we must cooperate with people about who we talk all the time. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Małgorzata, for very impressive demonstration of tools and approaches you have. And it's such a pleasure to hear that Academy has contributed also to some real results and some cooperations established. And now, please, the floor goes to the final panelist, also from Poland, Albert Miszczak, Intercultural Dialogue Team of the Wrocław Center for Social Development.
Yes,
please.
that's right. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here and to hear so really interesting and inspiring presentations. I have some questions, but firstly I said what I have to say. I would like to briefly talk about my city. I came from from Wrocław, which is the city in Poland, in west south part of the Poland. We have interesting story because after the Second World War, it was German city, and next when the Second War finished, it was a Polish city, and the people came there from East part of the Poland. There was enforced to the Russia. Came to Wrocław, and our story has migrant tradition involved, and it is important because we think about our city like migrant city. Since 2014, we observed the increase of number of migrants, mostly for Ukraine and Belarus. And today our city has 900,000 people, approximately 900,000 people, of which around 200,000 are migrants. The largest group consists of Ukrainians. It's 180,000 people, and Belarusian, it's 10,000 people approximately. And while the remaining migrants come from various countries such as Germany, Turkey, and France, but it is still around 1–2%. What is important? I worked in municipal institution. They are responsible for coordinating local integrations policy and cooperate with various municipal units and NGOs working towards interculturalism in the city. It's not common that city organizations, city institutions, because in another Poland cities, for the migrants policy are responsible the NGOs, not the city. It is really comfortable to be a part of the city and have so tasks with migrants topics. Someone said that visions without implementation is hallucination. It is true, but the vision is important too. How we think about migrant has really important influence of our activity. We think about migrants not like migrants, like for us the migrants is the part of the inhabitants. We use this in our language. When we speak about migrants, we speak about new inhabitants, because nobody wants to be permanent migrants. It is important that we think about migrants as the part of the city, and it is connected with another perspective, so-called intersectionality. Intersectionality, that means that we're treating each person with equality, taking into account various aspects of age, gender, social class, level of ability, and cultural background, sexual orientations, and other forms of identity. And it was really important, especially crucial after the full-scale war in Ukraine, because when various people with different needs come to us, older, younger, with children, and it was really it was issue for us that we have to these needs to satisfied to these needs. And I think this is connected with other initiatives and actions. I said that our initiative is the implementations of the integrations policy. And this policy aims to support the initial settlements of migrants by addressing various intersecting areas such as education, public services, housing, and employment. And to achieve effectively these actions in these areas, we required cross-sectoral cooperations, which in Wrocław is from over 60 institutions and departments and services, the NGO sectors, informal groups, and non-government organizations. And that what is important that this policy, with this policy as tool, we can see this as whole, and this is really an issue for us, how we can engagement these units and involve to together work for the migrants. What I want to say that when we are now working on this policy, we want to show for the national government that policy in national level and in government level is really close connected. In Poland, has changed the government in November 2024, and we all had hope that changed the migrations policy. In the past, what was in white side, but nowadays the government had changed, but the migrations hadn't unfortunately not changed. The migration is really connecting with the safety, with the danger, and we don't want to think about in such perspective. And our tasks as government is that we have to show that implementation and integration is not only the thing of safety, but of the people. The people, they had different needs, and they have had to care. I heard about the problems that have another cities, and the data problem is our problem, and we are working with the university to resolve these problems too. But the knowledge and the data is really important areas in our city. Yes, and what I am thinking that we are the part of the Intercultural city ICC too, and it is important too that problems that we have had another cities too with policies. And it is a really good thing that we can change this experience, and we have the same energy to resolve the problems, and we don't have to cooperate together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and really thank you for also focusing your intervention on motivation, why your municipality is engaging in integration. I think this is quite valuable subject for also many other municipalities across Baltic states. I will restrain now from my rights to ask question first, because I think we have heard quite different experiences from across Baltics and also Poland, and then also from a think tank having a comprehensive view. So please, if you have any questions to any of the panelists, okay, I think I then would like to ask one question about data. Yes, I see that one good tool how to get things done is to ask your ministry in public when and announce it. So that's Lithuanian example. But if we talk about others, what do you think you need from the government or other actors? So you would be you would have good data, and what it requires to have it. Also, maybe Dārta can say something from the experience of comprehensive overview.
Hard for me to answer from the perspective of a policy maker or a local government, but what we see in our experience is that the first thing that is needed is is for the data to be how to say, it's getting pretty late, so I'm forgetting words in English, but I will try to say it a bit differently. I think a set of things that municipalities or the state level need to collect is quite important, because as we see in the case of the data systems in Latvia, for an example, or data that was collected in the initial phase of arrivals from Ukraine, is that there were a lot of different data categories, and a lot of them were not, were maybe filled out by the actors involved at the start. But as the time went on, they weren't either updated or filled out at all. So I would say the comprehensiveness of it would be quite important, even if it's a data set, if you will, that contains small amounts. It would be important to make sure that each of the actors can update it, and I think it also is a question of coordination and collaboration between different levels of governance. As we hear, municipalities need to know the data on, I don't know, integration aspects related to outcomes of integration, or the ministries are also interested to see the overall picture, as well as analysts are interested in it. So I hope I was able to give some sort of a view on this.
Thank you.
Yes, I once had a conversation with a student from South Africa, and she told me about the example how people came to their countryside, to the land. They tried to help, they wanted to help, and they built a school. And they were so amazed that nobody came to the school. But they didn't realize that they don't have the roads to the school. So you have to have data to do something, because you have to know what and why and are you doing something. So it's not just doing something.
We have a database in our municipality, and yes, day after day it became more difficult to gather this information about Ukrainians, because if we put the task that they have to self-integrate in this country, for example, or in Baltic countries, but then what we can take of them, what Ukrainians, I mean about Ukrainians have such peculiarities. They are very close, maybe they do not want to give information that you needed to know, maybe like such a way. And maybe general information, yes, how we have children, how we have people, old people, and invalid, yes, and that's all. Because if we will gather such information, it brings us new problems, because all of these people will wait for help. And our task, as I see, we have to self-integrate it. And again, it depends what we mean to get, for what we want to gather this information. Main task and main decision, and maybe then is our cooperation in this field will be better and will be progressive, and it brings new results, because we speak a lot, we can say a lot, but we all need results at the last. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I believe everybody's slightly tired. It's already almost 5 o'clock. So maybe I can close the session and saying big thank you to the panelists providing these really interesting and exciting experiences from each city and town. I hope that you will have much more also time to discuss it tomorrow and day after tomorrow. So I wish good luck to participants for the next 2 days. And before I close the panel, I would like to thank again Riga City Council for providing these beautiful premises and also the space tomorrow where the training will take place. And I also forgot to mention big thank you to UNHCR team and especially Karolis Žibas, who is the driving force behind this event. So thank you so much, and I give word to Alice.
Good afternoon. It's both very nice to be the last speaker, but also challenging because we've had a very intense afternoon with lots of information and I think lots of food for thought. But I'll try to manage the best I can. And I want to start by reflecting on today's discussions, which gave me a lot of hope and a lot of motivation that this academy is really starting in the right time, in the right place. That's how we conceptualized it maybe a year ago, but I'm really being confirmed in that this was a good decision. And I want to say briefly why I think this is the case. So on the positive side, I feel also from the examples, be it at the national level, at the local level, that 3 years into this crisis management, responding to large-scale, unprecedented displacement caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, has brought a lot of experience, has increased expertise at different levels, and has really brought back this idea that collaboration is crucial in responding to crisis. And we've heard it from the Polish examples, but we heard it from the Baltic examples. All these good practices are there to learn from, to share, to further develop, and to hopefully make into something sustainable. Something that may not only serve refugees from Ukraine, but may serve a broader population, be it other refugees, but also other migrants. And here comes the second point. We know the demographic data, but also data about economic benefits of migration are very clear. And they're not only coming from Western countries, but they're also now there's good evidence from countries in Central, Eastern, North Europe about this. So when we were closing the Polish Academy, back in November last year, we had a report presented by Deloitte. There was a report commissioned by UNHCR Poland, and they calculated the economic effect of the presence of Ukrainian refugees in Poland, and they came up with a number of 1% of GDP in 2023 being a contribution of Ukrainian presence in Poland. I mean, 1% is pretty huge, and basically the overall message is all the expenses that come with welcoming and integrating refugees were far outweighed by the economic benefits of their presence, be it in the labor market and the spending and other aspects. So we have this data, we have this information that overall there are of course challenges, but overall migration is largely beneficial. At the same time, and I think one of the people from ministries highlighted this, we're living in very uncertain times. We're living in times where priorities are being reconsidered, where national security, defense spending are a clear priority. And in this region, or also in Poland, we see this, and we see it being reflected in also policy changes. And migration comes in the mix, very largely framed as a security threat. And that, of course, inevitably trickles down also to the local level. And that's where I think, and added to that, the uncertainty, of course, we see some countries, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, are reprioritizing their, foreign aid and their funding to international organizations, which will have a huge effect, already has effect, and will have more effect on what's happening on the ground. Who will be funding integration projects? And that brings me to the point that your role is absolutely essential, because we heard from some of the speakers, it's through these good examples, through these success stories that we can rebalance the narrative, the security narrative, when we can say this was a success and this brought good benefits for our local community. That's the best response. Of course, these security threats are there. We see that happening in different parts, different countries, and it's inevitable that indeed migration brings certain challenges, but I think this constellation of factors really makes this a timely initiative and an important one, and I'm very happy that we can work with all of you. We can bring 3 countries together, which is quite unusual. It's for sure going to be challenging, and here again, I cannot but thank Karolis Zibas, who made this happen, and also another UNHCR colleague who's based in Vienna. She's a UNHCR liaison office working with the OSCE very closely, and she has been in the background of all this happening, starting from the Polish Academy, and unfortunately couldn't travel to be here with us. But it's also those people who are sometimes invisible, but they make these things happen. So there's a lot of also this, we talk about collaboration, coordination that's involved in the success of this initiative, and will be instrumental for us to move from the launch and the first training in 2 years into something that we can, after 2 years, celebrate and have maybe some tangible results for you and your work. So let me just show a few examples, and I have to give credit again to Karolis, who basically prepared this presentation. So I'm delivering largely his work. So we moved from the first training in Poland to our closing event. We had over, I think, 140 something participations in the overall 10 training courses. When I say participations, it's not 140 something people we trained, but many people like Małgorzata, for example, were our regular visitors. So some people participated in all 10 courses. But overall, we catered to quite a substantive group. There were 13 cities and towns in Poland were involved. And some of this work is still continuing because the OSCE, ODIHR, we're based in Warsaw, so we're in contact there and continuing to support these efforts. Yes, and it was actually 2023, November, that by pure accident, I think, person from Krakow, one of our trainers in one of our training courses, was in touch with a Lithuanian delegation of municipalities that was visiting Poland. And I'm wondering whether actually somebody in this room was part of that delegation. So it was a delegation of about, I think, 7-8 people, and they were visiting different parts of Poland to learn about migrant integration. And we hosted that visit back in November 2023, and that was, at that moment, I remember I started thinking, it would be so cool, and they were really interested in what we are doing in Poland, and we explained this, and there was this sense of, oh, it would be actually nice if something like that could be done also in Lithuania or in the Baltic countries. And here we are, 2 years, less than 2 years later, and this is actually happening. So it's very, very rewarding to do this. Here I just wanted to show some visuals about the training courses and some of the, the testimonies of our participants. There were some, and the whole also point of making, this continuation is not just that we first called it a pilot and we want this pilot to be successful, so we need to do it for real somewhere else, but we really gathered a lot of good examples, and Małgorzata and Albert just gave a glimpse of what was covered in these courses that we can perhaps discuss with you and share some of these in our training courses. And that's really when, you were largely silent today, but tomorrow and after tomorrow, we really will very much rely on your participation, because I can sense there's a lot of knowledge and expertise here that we want to bring out into the open and to discuss. And all of this is not done in some kind of one model and we're just, putting it in Poland and then we're bringing it to Baltic. Not at all. And here again, it's thanks to Karolis and his colleagues that he did all the groundwork before this by conducting field visits, by organizing Pan-Baltic workshops in Riga. You might have been involved in this, and actually carrying out this online survey and identifying key topics and areas that should be addressed in the academy. And based on that, we then tailored what we call a course menu by the contribution of all the partners, Council of Europe, ODIHR, UNHCR, and OECD, so that it, at least to the most possible extent, responds to these needs that were expressed by you, I suppose, in those surveys. I don't know if you can read this, but a lot of people were keen to learn about good practices from other European countries, steps in promoting intercultural communication. What else do we see there? Yes, integration services, working with migrant-led organizations, etc. So all of this, just to reassure you, is taken into account. These are, again, priorities that were expressed by the municipalities. So that was shared early on in our coordination with among the partners. And yes, this is the timeline that we hope we will be able to implement in this changing landscape. And I have to underline the TBC in some of these cases to be confirmed based on our resources. But the idea was to basically deliver in kind of regular portions these training courses so that you're not overwhelmed by having something every month, but then there isn't like a huge gap in between. And we keep this community, this network, which I think somebody mentioned, it's more than training. It is indeed, it's more than training. It's this network that you know who to call in a different city or different country and ask, and trust, which I saw myself after running 3 different training courses in Poland. The third one was where people started sharing not just good practices, but also bad practices and difficult experiences, and started talking openly about what didn't work. And that was really very enriching for everybody to learn from. So this is more or less how we're planning it in 2025. So already quite a few activities. And then, yes, here we are. And then 2026, continuation. We also were thinking already from the start about sustainability, so that it's not just like this one-off thing that, okay, we do 10 courses and then that's it, and you deal with things on your own. We also want to integrate training of trainers, so there is a pool of experts who can then be a resource for you when you need them. Local experts, I mean. And I think this is the last slide. And that's really Karolis's, I think, a complex thinking put into a very simple and straightforward outline where we are. So Central Eastern European countries largely rely on mixed funding with the focus on external, and we've seen it still very much relying on EU funds. At the time of crisis, there was a lot of international organizations, UN agencies coming in with funds. A lot of the work is being coordinated by NGOs, so still a large reliance on NGOs. And then there's some support by municipalities, whereas the North and Western European model is more state-funded, coordinated by municipalities, and we heard that today, that the role of municipalities is really, growing, also from the point of view of the national policymakers. And then NGOs are more supporters rather than bearing the brunt of the work that needs to be done. And the idea is to support this transition and to have this academy as kind of one stepping stone towards this model, which again, less reliance on external funding, as we see, is making the situation more predictable and more sustainable in the long term. Yeah, whoa, that's a very smart thing. And that's it. Thank you very much. I also want to mention one thing. There was mention of trafficking as a topic, trafficking in human beings. And here I want to highlight there will be colleagues with us tomorrow and after tomorrow who are coming from the OSCE Secretariat in Vienna. There's a special representative on trafficking, combating trafficking, and we will have these two colleagues with us. So the idea was to also do our own interagency or intra-organizational collaboration and bring in that expertise into the integration focus. So we're not going to talk about trafficking all the time. That really deserves a specific and devoted training. But we are trying, and that's the first time I'm doing it, so I'm very curious how you will like it, trying to mainstream the topic into the different discussions about labor market inclusion, about integration, and to see how these topics are interconnected. So that's for tomorrow, and I also want to mention that among the many thanks, I also need to highlight a big thank you to Dārta, Providus, and also Laima at the back, who will be also our trainers tomorrow and after tomorrow. So because we are having a much bigger group than we usually have, so we'll have these two parallel worlds with two trainers each, or three if I include the trafficking colleagues. And yeah, it's without your support, your expertise, and also the logistical coordination, none of that would be possible. Thank you for your attention. I was supposed to open floor for discussion, and I see we're doing really well with time, but I'm not sure there's that much appetite for questions or comments, or maybe you're keeping it for your active participation tomorrow and after tomorrow. But if you have any questions about the academy, about whatever, then this is the time, or you can also approach us afterwards. I see you're ready to go out in this cold evening. We will welcome you tomorrow. We will start with something very dynamic for those of you who are joining. We're going to play or experience a game. And this is one last thing of acknowledgement that I also want to say. It's called Destination Europe. It's a sort of a board game, which we call training tool. So you will have a chance to experience it. And it's been developed by the European Migration Network, which is a European Commission organized network. And for those of you who will not be there tomorrow, I just want to highlight, it's called Destination Europe, and it's available in all the different language versions of your countries. So there's Estonian, Latvian, and Lithuanian version. And we even have the Estonian version in printed copies, but you can just find it online, and it's a really nice tool to promote discussion about migration and integration challenges in Europe. And I'll end with that. Thank you for your attention. And I look forward to meeting you tomorrow.